American Pickers star Mike Wolfe has stunned fans by splashing $25,000 on a pair of vintage Vespa scooters. Victor used to own one of the biggest vintage Vespa shops on the West Coast and still collects the Italian-produced mopeds at his garage. Speaking about Victor, Mike said, "As far as I'm concerned, Victor Vespa is like the godfather of Vespa. The guy's a pioneer. He's a legend." Victor told the American Pickers creator that his father was an antiques collector, which sparked his own interest in collecting scooters. When arriving at Victor's garage, Mike was taken to a Vespa junkyard, which was a grassy area filled with around 70 old rusty scooter carcasses. Victor explained, "Back when we were in business in the 80s and 90s, you couldn't order parts. The only way to do it would be to take apart a bike." After being told by Victor that each one was worth around $75 each, Mike asked him, "Do you have anything that's a little bit more complete? Do you have a complete scooter?" Victor then took Mike, who has owned multiple Vespas before, inside his workshop, where he showed him a 1952 Ferro Basso Vespa and a very, very rare model from 1948. The 1948 rod model had original paint and an original toolkit and was unbelievably found in Portland, Oregon. Mike said in a voiceover, "This is a 1948 original paint rod model Vespa that was never exported to the U.S. These scooters are extremely rare in Italy. It's unbelievable that this scooter is in the U.S. and is in the condition it's in." Victor had owned the scooter since 1994, having bought it from the last living factory-trained Vespa mechanic in America at the time. "This one I kind of have a soft spot for," Victor admitted. Mike asked, "What would it take to buy this?" Victor replied, "$20,000. That's a fair number, by the way." Agreeing, Mike sighed, "No, I know. It's a pretty amazing scooter, man." He then decides to make Victor a joint offer for the rod model and the 1952 Ferro Basso. "Why don't we do this? $25,000 for the pair," he asks. Victor's wife then leans in and whispers, "Let it go, lighten the load." Convinced, Victor agrees to the deal and shakes hands, as Mike says, "Oh my gosh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Love it. Love it." A clip from the American Pickers episode has now been shared on the show's official History Channel Facebook page. After watching, one fan remarked, "That's crazy. Are they worth that kind of money? They're going to start building them." Another added, "A lot of people buy the Vespa because they don't break down as much as the Lambretta." In June, Mike teased the return of the new series of American Pickers. He posted a photo of himself in a desert environment, with his back to the camera while walking toward an old car. Mike captioned the shot, "At Jeremy Thomas, you have managed to take one of the hottest shoots I've ever been on, and make it even hotter. Loved having you on the crew, buddy. Your work is incredible, and you're a beautiful human." Mike went on to interact with several fans in the comments section. One person questioned, "When is the new American Pickers back on?" "October, I think," Mike responded. Mike Wolfe, the beloved star of American Pickers, has once again captured the hearts of vintage enthusiasts everywhere by making a jaw-dropping purchase that has left fans buzzing. Known for his incredible eye for rare and valuable treasures, Mike recently shelled out a staggering $25,000 for not just one, but two vintage Vespa scooters. The extravagant splurge is a testament to Mike's dedication to preserving history through collectibles, as well as his deep-seated love for all things vintage and unique. The scene unfolded in typical American Pickers fashion, during a recent episode that took viewers on a nostalgic journey into a forgotten storage barn somewhere in rural America. Tucked away amid rusty old bicycles, dusty tools, and piles of long-forgotten relics, were two pristine Vespa scooters. The scooters, dating back to the 1950s, instantly caught Mike's attention. Their bright colors, sleek design, and undeniable charm were enough to make any collector's heart race. But for Mike, it was about much more than the aesthetics. "These scooters tell a story," Mike explained, running his hands over the polished metal frame of one of the Vespas. "They're more than just machines. They're symbols of a time when the world was rapidly changing. They're pieces of history." Fans watching the show were equally captivated by Mike's discovery. Social media lit up with excitement as viewers shared their thoughts on the rare find. For many, the Vespa scooters represented an era of post-war optimism and carefree adventure. After World War II, scooters like the Vespa became a symbol of mobility, freedom, and new beginnings, particularly in Europe, where the Vespa first rose to prominence. For Mike Wolfe, it was impossible to resist such an important piece of cultural history. As Mike deliberated over the potential purchase, it was clear that these weren't just any old scooters. Both Vespas had been meticulously maintained over the years and were in near-mint condition, a rarity for vehicles of this age. Their original paint still gleamed under a light layer of dust, and all the mechanical parts were intact. One of the scooters even had a sidecar attachment, a feature that immediately piqued Mike's interest. "Finding a Vespa with a sidecar in this condition is like finding a needle in a haystack," Mike exclaimed. "This is the kind of thing that gets my heart pumping." While the asking price was steep, $25,000 for the pair, Mike didn't hesitate for long. After negotiating with the seller, an elderly man who had been holding onto the scooters for decades, Mike agreed to the price, knowing that he had just secured two treasures that were not only valuable but also irreplaceable. To Mike, the value of these Vespas wasn't just about the dollar signs attached to them. It was about the rich history and memories they carried. The Vespas had originally been imported from Italy in the early 1950s, shortly after Vespa scooters began gaining international popularity. Both had been owned by a local couple who used them to zip around town during the golden age of scooters in America. For decades, the scooters had been passed down through generations, but as time went on, they were eventually stored away, forgotten by all but the seller, who had decided it was time for the scooters to find a new home. The seller, who shared the story of his grandparents using the scooters for everything from Sunday drives to picnics in the countryside, was visibly emotional as he parted with them. "These Vespas mean a lot to my family," he told Mike. "But I know they're going to someone who will appreciate them for what they are." Mike, ever the sentimental picker, reassured the seller that the Vespas would be well taken care of. "I promise you, these scooters will be treasured. I'll make sure their story lives on," Mike said, sealing the deal with a handshake. Once the deal was done, Mike couldn't contain his excitement. The Vespa scooters were loaded onto his trailer, and he immediately began brainstorming ways to showcase the scooters in his antique archaeology shop. "These are showpieces," he said, grinning from ear to ear. "People are going to lose their minds when they see these in the shop." Fans of American pickers are well aware of Mike's passion for vintage motorcycles and scooters, but this latest acquisition seems to have struck a particular chord. As the episode aired, fans flocked to social media to express their awe at both the scooters and Mike's willingness to invest such a large sum in preserving them. Many praised Mike for recognizing the significance of these Vespa scooters, not just as collectibles, but as pieces of history that deserve to be celebrated. What Mike does goes beyond just picking. He's an historian. One fan commented on Instagram, "These Vespas are priceless because of the stories they carry." Another fan tweeted, "Only Mike Wolfe would spend $25,000 on vintage scooters and make us all wish we had done it first." Those Vespas are iconic. Mike himself took to social media after the episode aired to thank fans for their support and share his own excitement over the purchase. "These Vespas are something special," he wrote on Instagram, posting a photo of the scooters gleaming under the sun. "Can't wait to show them off at the shop. It's not every day you find treasures like these." For Mike Wolfe, the thrill of the hunt is never just about the objects he uncovers. It's about the connections they create between the past and the present, between history and memory. The $25,000 Vespa scooters are more than just a pricey find. They're a testament to his love for the stories that vintage items hold, and to his commitment to keeping those stories alive for future generations to enjoy. As Mike drives off with the Vespas in tow, the smile on his face says it all. For a man who has spent his life uncovering hidden gems, these vintage scooters represent yet another chapter in his never-ending quest to preserve the past, one incredible find at a time.